Hey, well, hello, good morning, and welcome to Tottenham Hotspur USA. I am DJ Paul, and sounds like my mic is reverbing. Let me take that off. Yes, there goes my mic. I don't have no earpiece in, so I cannot hear myself. So I think this is an actual bad start. But we have a bad start already to the window, or a bad ending to the window. So what's new? We all are Tottenham Hotspurs. We can't get it right. Did I say Tottenham Hotspurs? Yes, we're going to pluralize that and call ourselves the Spurs. And today we are not spurring at all. I think the window has come and the window is going to go, and we have not made an impact to the team in a positive way in the market. Getting the Souza in, and that was easy. I like the Souza. I kind of like the Souza sort of pin him to the Brazilian or to the Portugal with the name. But I understand eventually it's going to be just Souza if that's what he wants to be called. But I like the Souza, and so getting Conor Gallagher actually in. We are seeing the benefits of having Conor Gallagher in the window. By the way, I'm DJ Paul, and I'm just taking a quick review, Spurs in review, of the entire window. And so I don't want to relitigate the whole Frank thing, the whole Daniel Levy thing. That's not going to serve anyone. Just in my opinion, I just think overall there was not enough time dedicated in terms of, how we think as a fan base for the effects of Daniel Levy to get out of the club, get away from the team. Something comes up where he's trying to sell his portion. And I was a little bit concerned that Daniel Levy was removed as a chairman, but what happened to his 30% of what he actually owns in the club. And now all the news are coming out and everyone is focusing now again on Daniel Levy, rightfully so, but at the same time, let's deal with who is the majority owner, and knowing that, Enoch and Lewis has not done anything to help us in this window, and therefore shifting the blame from Daniel Levy onto Thomas Frank is absolutely unfair to Frank. At the beginning of the season, we said that, hey, when we look down the roster and we see what's there, we just think that this squad itself was void of talent. There are few that you can say, hey, they're for the future, things are going to happen. But more than 50% of the team, man, was up to no good. Vicario hasn't improved in terms of his overall, taking command of as a keeper. I think we should actually go out and try to see if we can get Bono. I like Bono, very good goalkeeper. That me just throwing that out there for the summer. And Simons came in and he's doing what what would have happened. What happens in the Premier League is that most of the signings, apart from Ekitike, is actually finding their footing now, and so you're seeing better play coming from those players. If you ask me, I think Wirtz is beginning to show what he's made of. Voltemada started out, or Waltemada, whatever it is. They're all Germans, so the V will take precedent over the W. And so he's beginning to show, he was showing a lot. He's fallen back a little bit now with Newcastle struggling, and therefore you look overall, Sesko, scored a good goal against Fulham, and that's what you're going to see. You're going to see these players now in the second half, being in England, being in the league, should be getting up to what their billing price, and their fee value is. Javi Simons, who was pushed in right away because of Maddison, did not get a chance, and not having a left winger as well, didn't get the chance to actually sit and develop. I like the way he takes care of himself and taking care of his body, taking the responsibilities, knowing that he is the man who is going to be blamed, whether he plays well or not, is always going to be him, because he came in to fulfill something that we did not have. Even though we have it in James Maddison, he was already injured before Simons coming, so therefore the playmaking was going to fall on his shoulder, and therefore I like the fact that he went into the gym and he did what he has to do. You can see that he's carrying about anywhere between 5 and maybe 8 pounds in terms of his size, so you want to see that, you want to see at least that kind of improvement, and you see now is actually grooving, in the position that he's in. Notwithstanding that we just got Solanke back, and that is where the problem is, not having enough quality, hoping that Muani would have, been able to hold up the fort. We see how well the team looks when you have a focal point. You know where the ball is supposed to go because your talisman now is supposed to be a Solanke. And then you see the direction of the ball, you see the play, the intent of the players heading there. Regardless of what's happening in bits and pieces, it's because we don't have the talent overall on the pitch, or we have injuries, to couple with that. You're not going to change the injury status as for what it is. Hopefully we get some of them back. But the market itself we're open that at least, a few players, even on loan, could have come in and helped the team out in the interim, that we have, these devastating injuries. And then something also have to be done to look at why these are occurring so frequently around about the same time. During the festive season, we seem to be dropping off like flies. Now, if you're a top player and you want to come to Spurs, you're going to be scared for your career. So we have to take in factors when we're going out there and looking at players. And therefore, a player like Mickey van der Ven, who has, before, when he came in, and I don't want to dwell on Mickey van der Ven, I just want to use as an example. Mickey van der Ven actually lost 42 games under Ange Postecoglou, which is equivalent to an entire season. We have to take that into consideration as well. So now that he's having his little niggle, it's wise for Frank to hold him out. Just notwithstanding that before that he had a 17-game missing before he left Wolfsburg. For a player who is only 24, it's going to be 25 in April. He has missed upwards of, in this case now, almost 90 games due to injury between the age of 19 and 24, 25. So we have to take that into consideration when we are talking about Van der Ven being a world-class player. He's playing well because he's healthy, but is he going to stay healthy to fulfill his promise? And so for those who are talking about, hey, just sell him to Real Madrid, Van der Ven owes Spurs some playing time, and he's signed until to 2030. So I'm not concerned about Real Madrid knocking around. It's whether or not he's going to allow Spurs to sign him and make sure that we protect him as an asset. That means if he goes, then we benefit from improving him. If that's not going to be the case and he wants to go, then I'll say sell him in the summer. I have no sentiments towards player. I want to make sure that we have good players, but at the same time, those good players need to want to be here. And I know we gave Ramiro a whole lot of flack, but you can see Ramiro is showing all the intents as a captain that he wants to be a Spurs. If the first time you're going to be healthy in 3 years and you're going to get your head turned because you're playing well, then by all means I'll say go. That is where I'm different from a lot of fans. We see the same thing with Vuskovic. We bring a young player in and the young player is doing what he's supposed to be out on loan. I do believe that it was a right thing for them to do to send him out on loan to make sure that he learns and he gets playing time, because playing time was important, because when they dissect how he was going to be when he comes up with everyone, if he was here with everyone being fit, he would have been way down the line. You'd have to have terrible performances for him to come in. Frank didn't start to use a back three until lately. So when you look at it, if you have two deep at every position, he was going to be the odd man out, and would have taken something special for him to get in and don't relinquish that position. And that was not going to happen with Frank playing a back four and Ramiro and Van der Ven. The only part I see that I would say I would take some of that back is because you would have probably opened a way for him, because then if you want to play, Vuskovic, then you don't want to lose Van der Ven. Then with your Udogie injured, you could actually move back Spence to the right with Porro. I'm talking hindsight here. You could have moved Spence to the right and then push Van der Ven, who can play as a left-sided fullback, because he does that with the Netherlands. You could actually do that, and then you'd have Vuskovic in there with Ramiro. Or in a case like this where Frank had gone now to the back three, you could have pushed Udogie forward, and then you drop Vuskovic and with a central or on the right side. I think it would fit the right side, and let the senior player in Romero play as a central defender. Even though I wanted Romero to do that under Conte, but looking at Romero function as a central defender, I would think that of the back three, then Romero should be on the right because he's overly aggressive, and then you'd have more height with Vuskovic in the middle. That's a scenario that I would have seen for him, that he would have taken steps to be a part of the first team with Frank changing the way he's set up and with injury. So that could have happened to his advantage. But in my judgment of the way I see him is that the move for him was right. Stay where he is, develop. I don't care about Bayern looking at him or any other club that's looking at him. What we want to do is that we want to have desired players. And when you start to have 1, 2, 3, desired players, when you look at it just from the squad, as I was saying, intimate before, we have about 5 people, and if you bring Vuskovic in, you add him and you make him 6. So when you look at the summer and you said who are desirable as far as we have and who can stay and we can build from, not counting the backups, you're talking first teamers, you're saying, well, on the wings we should have Spence and Udogi, which I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Maybe Porro, if we get a good, maybe 35 million for Porro, we could ship Porro and slot Spence in over there. Udogi healthy, then we have cover for him with the Sousa. But as far as we're concerned right now, we're lacking a whole lot whether or not we're going to hold on to Palhinha in the midfield and then Gallagher. So as you look at it, the back line itself would be okay with maybe another signing, because Ben Davies is going to go, so we can either sign another left footer or doesn't matter, just sign a centre back who is good enough. We're talking about playmakers, and if we can go out there and get someone like a Copen Minor, a left-sided midfielder with Palhinha, his strong side would be off the left, and Conor Gallagher, can switch in between. We're going to have pretty much 1 game a week, so that will make the team even stronger. Madison coming back, with Javi, being there. That's our overall view of what we're looking at for the summer. And we're saying that with less game, we're supposed to be much better than what we are now, because I think we'll have a base from which we can play. Mouani have no business being here after this summer with an improving Odebeer, and maybe we can let one of them go. Who knows if we're going to do that. Kudus will be healthy and be coming back. Maybe we'll get Kulishevsky, and then we still have the opportunity to go out there and get a left winger. Another striker to compete with Solanke would be, but for now we'll say that Solanke may improve and be the talisman, but we still need a striker. And this is where I was saying that in this window we should have gone out and filled one of those positions. There is no doubt that we need a ball-playing midfielder. I don't know if when Madison comes back and Kulishevsky, if that is going to all change, because like I said, if we go out and we get another number 6, we could actually slide Palhinha. If Palhinha stays, we could actually slide Palhinha to the right and have and some platooning is going to go on in there. But the team would have been stronger as far as the squad is concerned. And so therefore, we said maybe we don't need all the things that we think we need when everyone is healthy. And maybe it is going to come down to one center back, maybe another full back, a winger definitely. If Odebeer doesn't, its trajectory drops, maybe it's too much for the both of them to be sharing that. So you give him that. Bissouma and Bentancur are supposed to be Adios and Richarlison, Ben Davies. So there are players that are going out that we don't have to worry about. It is inevitable that they're going to go. And so when you look at the window coming up, we don't have to go out there and go try to find players, for 60 and 70 million dollars. When we should have been doing is now we should be taking that risk, taking that chance, but mindfully so that players are going to worry whether or not they're going to a club that is going to be relegated. I don't think we're going to be relegated, so a good chance we could have gotten some players. So the window itself is really bad. It didn't do anything for the squad, so hopefully as we go through and everything works out the way it's supposed to be, we can do what we need to do in the summer, and everything that will just settle the team in. It's very disappointing to know that we did not improve the squad with all the injuries. As far as the game that just finished, this is what happened when you're inconsistent, when you don't have a good squad, is that you find that you play 2 games well, and then you go back to to being inconsistent. I'm not going to blame the manager. I really think the manager needed the time. He needs a player, and therefore I am hoping that we keep Frank. Let him build on whatever he's building. I noticed that he's trying to do things with different formation and different players. It was great to see him after the first half with City is go to a 4-4-2. 4-4-2 is one of the best formation in football. I've done it, I've coached it, so I understand how it is. And therefore, when you want to stop the ball and take a hold of your midfield, then you go to a 4-4-2. Keep your man in front, and you saw him doing that. That tells me that Frank is thinking maybe the saying that is doing much better or doing more with less. It might be a thing. I don't want to make it a thing. I want to give him credit for seeing what he needs to do, making those tactical changes coming out of the dressing room, and the team is responding. And therefore, for me, I will give Frank all the credit. Listen, I am not one who is sentimental to players or managers. I'm just saying that if a player needs to go for whatever reason or whatever it is, the badge comes first. That crest comes first. And therefore, if you don't want to be here, you go. But at the same time, I'm not going to say keep changing manager without seeing exactly what the manager is bringing. And you can see that Frank is trying, he's settling down. You can firing the manager is not going to be the answer, because what will happen is that you're going to have players that are old over that he may have brought in just the way Anja brought in his player that doesn't fit his system. There are players who are of less quality. And one other thing before I say this, when it comes to the academy, listen, if the players are not projected to come into the first team a year and a half, let them go. Sell them, do whatever it is. Use the money to go out there and get players. The thing that we cannot continue to do, though, we cannot continue to buy 19 and 20-year-olds and put them on top of the academy players. We need to make up our minds if we're going to use the academy. Find one or two players that would definitely are keepers and sell the rest. Move the rest on, because you're stunting the careers of them. And then what has happened is that you're bringing these 19-year-olds in who are not proven, or they don't come from good academies, and therefore you're bringing them into a first team and you're asking them to come and produce. It is not going to work. We're seeing the same thing with Oda Bear. We're seeing the same thing with Tell, and also SAR, not Archie Gray so much. Archie Gray comes out of an academy. So right now, when you really look at it, is that we're not going about this thing the right way. So the entire backroom structure needs to change. I don't know what it's going to take for them to start thinking football and start making football decisions. But in this time, I don't think they're doing that much. I'm going to let it stop right here. I want to keep it short. I try to keep it short. But there's so much to say, but this window for me is a bust. There's nothing else to say about it. It's a disappointment that we did not try to get players in, even if we have to offset the injuries that we have. And hopefully, with where we are now, playing in only 2 competitions, that we'll have enough space to give these players enough rest, and therefore we can go full tilt at both competitions that we're in. I think we're going to go to the next round in the Champions League. It doesn't matter who we get. I'm not sure about it after that, but hope we can go as far as we can go, and that will be more money as you make it through the round. So hopefully this is it, and we start to just settle in and get behind the team. And as always, I'm DJ Paul, and come on, you Spurs. I love to say it to you, be good, walk good. Until next time, it's just another day in the life of a Spurs fan. Peace, and I'm out of here.